Happy Monday, everyone. This video will be on the astrological synastry of Kendrick Lamar and Drake. As you both know, these men are rappers and have been feuding heavily for the past year and some change, and it has now culminated into a now legal battle that has gotten kind of nasty. So I was just curious about their synastry and why they don't get along from an astrological standpoint. I do want to do an individual birth chart reading on both Kendrick and Drake, but the synastry was on my mind so heavy, so I just had to start with this. So we're going to get into it. Kendrick Lamar is an American rapper who was born on June 17, 1987 in Compton, California, making him a Gemini sun and Pisces moon. And Drake is a Canadian rapper born on October 24, 1986 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, making him a Scorpio sun and Cancer moon. One of their most prominent aspects is that Pluto conjunct Pluto in their synastry chart. Both of them were born within a year of each other, so they are very close in age, and therefore both have the same Pluto placement, which is Pluto in Scorpio. Kendrick actually has this retrograde in his chart, and when you have Pluto retrograde in your birth chart, you may have experiences with power struggles and control in your life. Perhaps not feeling powerful or seeing a lot of injustice growing up would make you more inclined to yearn for power very strongly as you age. So it's a very intense relationship with power and control either way. And so in this aspect in their synastry, Kendrick might feel this anger when it comes to Drake that's more intense than it is inversely. However, Drake also has a very Plutonian birth chart in general. Scorpio's dominant planet is Pluto, and Drake is a Scorpio sun and also has a Scorpio Mercury and Venus. So this is interesting because it makes their relationship immediately intense. They both have an understanding of power and its uses, and they both have this desire to be in control. And in their shared industry, that would translate as the desire to be seen as the best. So they see the other person as being very powerful. They see the other person's potential. And so there's this undercurrent of respect kind of for their other person's success, because plutonian placements can't help but be very magnetic and powerful in their fields. But there is also this intense disdain because they see the power the other innately possesses, and they both have a fear of being controlled with that Pluto reference. So they will be like lions, essentially fighting for the territory every single time they're interacting. Drake and Kendrick also have Moon square Uranus as a very strong placement in their synastry. Kendrick is a Pisces moon, and Drake's Uranus is in Sagittarius. Whatever sign your moon is in explains what you need emotionally and how you are emotionally. And where your Uranus sign is explains where and how you're driven towards freedom and unconventional thinking. These planets being in a square between these two would indicate that Kendrick finds Drake to be a flake, pretty much. Having a Pisces moon likely makes him a very deep person emotionally. He may be very empathetic and compassionate and someone who is easily moved by emotions. And this would certainly make for a clash of personalities when that's in a square with a Uranus in Sagittarius, where Sagittarius values the freedom to be fleeting. And a Uranus and Sagittarius person might enjoy doing what they want and when they want, even if it offends and even if it's not sentimental. And Kendrick likely sees that in Drake and resents it. Drake has often been accused of being a culture vulture because he explores other cultures in his music. He has eras where he claims the American South as his heritage, as well as Caribbean culture, and it often leads people to wondering if he's principled at all. Kendrick, however, has always shown a deep reverence for his hometown and his people. And for him, integrity might be a very serious value, or at least it becomes very important to him when it comes to Drake. With this placement, there's a certain irritation that comes up as these two, with each person. One will find the other too light and the other too serious. Another prominent aspect further explores this dynamic, and that is Pluto square Mars. Kendrick is the Pluto character here, and his Pluto is in Scorpio, and Drake's Mars is in Aquarius. As always, a square creates tension in synastry. So what this aspect explores is again that craving for depth and transformation on Kendrick's part, clashing with lighthearted, freedom-loving energy on Drake's part with that Aquarian Mars. Mars is how we do things and what drives us, and our Pluto placement tells us where we strive to seek change and growth. And this clash in their synastry tells us that Kendrick and Drake have an innate struggle with each other due to this need for dominance over the other. The deep-seated issues they both share regarding power and control is seen in the other as well. They are essentially very similar in this sense. They may have different approaches, but they want the same things, and it drives the other crazy because they know the power the other possesses, and they know it's possible they can each be knocked off their top by this other person. Kendrick has immense disdain for Drake because he sees Drake as someone who doesn't take the perhaps craft of rapping or art of hip-hop as seriously as he does. Maybe he sees Drake as smart but not talented, and though he may respect his potential, he doesn't respect his success because he doesn't feel he got to where he is with integrity. Drake, on the other hand, with that Aquarius Mars, values innovation and change and doesn't play by the rules that Kendrick perhaps does in their field, and he values freedom very heavily. He would push back against anyone who tries to put him in a box. And because of that, he can't gain Kendrick's respect and is probably more personally offended than anything by the attempt to stifle him. This makes for very obvious tension. The two of them also have Moon squared Chiron in their synastry. This I find interesting because the Chiron is the wounded healer in astrology. It is the themes in our lives that cause us pain and where we might repeat lessons in order to heal tension surrounding these areas. So to have Chiron in a synastry chart might reveal where there is some deep feelings on both of their parts. Kendrick is the moon person here, and his moon is in Pisces, and Drake's Chiron is in Gemini, which is also in retrograde. Indicates that Kendrick is again a deeply sensitive person with that Pisces moon and has no problem expressing his vulnerability. Drake, on the other hand, has a Gemini Chiron, which indicates a struggle with communication, perhaps being too overly analytical and having an insecurity about expressing hurt feelings or feelings in general. So this could add to the tension due to Kendrick perhaps finding Drake superficial. The issue with this, though, is that with the Chiron and Gemini on Drake's part, there is a depth that is there. It's just repressed or unexpressed. So this aspect indicates probably more of an misunderstanding of the other person. Drake may come across as superficial or fake to Kendrick, but there's actually more underlying in his personality that Drake just doesn't show. So there's this clash of values on Kendrick's part and expression on Drake's part. Now, moving on from planets and into objects in astrology, they also have the aspect ascendant square vertex in their synastry. Ascendant is how we see the world and how the world sees us, and vertex is a fated point in astrology. So whenever someone touches your vertex point in synastry, it signifies a growth-inducing relationship. Having a square between Kendrick's ascendant and Drake's vertex again implicates power struggles. There is an irritation with how Drake approaches life. They have such a different approach to the same career, and they are both leaders in their field. So there's just this dog-eat-dog mentality that they both possess about each other, and it makes for a lack of respect and camaraderie. They also share ascendant conjunct south node in their synastry. This is significant because our south node represents our past relationships, often in previous lives. So this conjunction, which is the most transformative connection you can have with another person's person or planet or objects, indicates that there is past life karma being worked out in this life between these two. Drake being the south node person in this would mean his presence is a trigger for Kendrick. The way he goes about living his life is a reminder to Kendrick on a deep level about things he has to work on left over from previous incarnations. There is a similarity and a familiarity between them, and therefore they trigger each other. They also have IC conjunct vertex. This is powerful because our IC represents our roots and foundations and beliefs, and vertex is again that fated point. So this conjunction is very powerful, and it indicates that they have a shared purpose or shared destiny. So meeting each other triggered that. This relationship, whether negative or positive, is very transformative because it ignites them both into change and transformation, and it affects their beliefs. So meeting each other and interacting with each other causes a shake to the foundation from which they both see the world. So this will definitely lead to tension in any relationship. But it can also be very positive if the two of them were to work together because they do have a very shared or similar destiny. It's also worth noting that Kendrick's vertex in Gemini is in Drake's 10th house, and Drake's vertex in Capricorn is in Kendrick's 3rd house. So Kendrick's vertex point being in the sign of Gemini and touching Drake's 10th house of career and public image means that Kendrick ends up having a very big effect on Drake's career and how people see him. This is indicated by the diss songs Kendrick has done about Drake. And Drake's vertex being the sign of Capricorn touching Kendrick's 3rd house of communication would be implicated by Drake taking a very business approach to the effect that Kendrick's words have on him. We all know that Drake is suing Kendrick for defamation. So this is all being played out on a very public level. So that about wraps up all I wanted to touch on in this video. I think it's really interesting the way astrology plays out in the physical world between people exercising free will. That's part of what makes astrology and particularly synastry charts so interesting. Um, Although Kendrick and Drake have all this tension in their relationship, they also had a lot of harmonious placements I did not explore in their chart, that indicate a mutual respect for art and expression and them having similar interests. So once again, that shared destiny comes up again. And so I think that if they were to be friends, they could actually be a very powerful and dynamic force. But for now, it is a battle of the wills and egos, and they both have very strong ones indeed. So we will have to just see how it plays out. I am Aaliyah, the spiritual astrologer. If you're interested in spiritual coaching services or in your own birth and synastry chart readings, click the link in the description below to book with me. And also, if you like to wear some t-shirts that kind of represent astrology, your love for astrology or spirituality, and your connection to that, you can check out my clothing site that I will link in the description as well. As for now, I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.